Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Paradigm. Today, I'm sitting down with someone who isn't afraid to speak her mind, Layla Saleh. You've probably come across her online, where she and her father tackle everything, from world events to relationships, faith, tradition, and how we can bring back that sense of purity and meaning in our lives. And one of the main reasons I think that, why I absolutely love and respect this woman is because she's unapologetically real, and in a world full of noise, she's definitely that voice that kind of cuts through with honesty and with conviction. And in this conversation, we'll talk about her journey, what drives her to share her perspectives, and how she just stays so grounded despite the chaos of social media. So, we'll also dive into topics that matter, such as faith, identity, personal struggles, and what true happiness actually looks like. So yeah, get ready for an open, unfiltered, and thought-provoking conversation with Layla. Layla, absolute pleasure having you in the studios today.
Thanks for having me.
How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing well. I just wanted to ask you, how do you feel actually sitting on a podcast that's not yours?
So it's actually interesting, and I didn't tell you this yesterday. I actually decided that I'm not doing interviews anymore at all.
Is this your last one?
Probably. It might be. I made the exception for you. I'm kind of over it.
Over and done, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to waste your energy anymore.
You know why? Because people, not to sound like egotistical or narcissistic, but they tend to use you for clickbait. You know, especially because me and my best friend Sarah, when we talk, we're unapologetic. But they'll take the little parts that make you sound too harsh or too...
And they repost it.
Yeah, just for clickbait. And I'm like, you know what? I'm over it. Like, I'm all for rocking the boat and being controversial and kind of saying it how it is.
Right.
But I'm not for the like cheap shots, if that makes sense.
I feel you. It started happening with our podcast as well. And we were shocked. We were like, okay, so we're actually going big now, since people are screen recording our sections and then promoting it on their channels. Yeah. As you said, taking sentences that completely have nothing to do with anything.
Out of context.
Yeah, fully. And we're like, okay, but at least tag us. No, nothing. We don't even get a tag. Nothing.
No, it's fine. Keep doing you. You're doing great.
Anyways, I wanted to tell you, I'm so excited to have you, because every time I watch your reels, your podcast, I listen to you, there's this crazy amount of energy, right? Crazy amount of opinion and confidence that comes out, and I'm actually experiencing it live today. So that's literally like the most genuine thing I'm excited about, is that I'm here with you live. So thank you so much once again for coming.
Babe, thanks for having me. Let's go.
So to start off, I usually ask people about their childhood, right? And how it all began for them. So literally paint a picture for us of how your childhood looked like, and kick it off from there.
I had a really interesting childhood. My parents did the best they could, and I loved it. I grew up in Saudi Arabia, and but I had most of my
best they could.
What do you mean? The best they could? I'll tell you what I mean. I had a huge problem with authority, and it's a problem I have to this day.
In Saudi?
Not in the sense of like the law or that. I mean, just in the sense of my teachers, my parents, an adult telling me what to do. I have a huge problem with Don't judge me. I heard you hear it.
It happens often. Don't worry. Mike's so used to it.
Because they pick up on all the small sounds. But the authoritative figures trying to impose their authority on me, I had a huge problem with it. And most of my friends who've known me for a decade or 2 decades will tell you that I haven't changed. I'm just less messy. Because I was messy as a kid.
So your parents got brought into class, and you've been calling out for being bossy and for...
Oh, my parents have been called maybe every day of the week.
Oh my God. So you've always been outspoken then as a child?
Yeah, I was a rebel with a cause, not without a cause, for sure.
Right. What sort of, let's say, values has your family implemented into you from those early days?
Islam and the love of God. When people... It's the question I get the most. How do you have such a tight-knit relationship with God? And it didn't come easy. I really embrace my parents and thank them heavily, especially as an adult, that they kept planting those seeds in me as a child, despite my refusal, my rebuking it. Because, as a kid, you're just like, leave me alone. I just want to go play in the playground,
Right.
But they kept with everything they did. There was a quote from the Quran, or an ayah from the Quran, a story from the Prophet ﷺ, any Muslim figure, any philosopher, everything had a meaning behind it.
Right.
And I'm really grateful for it. That's
you just
something.
Clicked at a certain point.
Yeah, for sure.
And you realized, okay, this is actually useful.
Yeah.
All right. Tell me, what the biggest influence over you in your life?
As a person who's alive?
Yeah. I mean, of course, she might be on the other side, but Somebody that truly had influence, over your world, over your views.
I would have to say, unfortunately, my father.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And
why, unfortunately?
Because I don't want to give him more credit. He's
everywhere.
He's everywhere. But no, I'll give him all the credit. He was one of the hardest experiences I've ever had to go through have been with my father, but he's also been the biggest mentor and hero. So it was very interesting to see like my worst nightmare and my biggest hero in one person, because at the end of the day, despite us being very close and friends, it was a very long and treacherous road to get here.
Right.
Because while he was my father and I'm growing, he was also his own man and human with his own baggage, going through his own stuff,
development, yeah.
And it was interesting to see him grow and fall while trying to raise me while I also fell. So it's one of the most interesting experiences I've ever been
But
through.
I guess the older you get, the more you appreciate him, right?
Yeah, of course. And I think the more human I see him,
Right.
makes the world of a difference when I no longer need my parents to do right by me.
Right.
I just need to do right by them regardless of their flaws or how they make me feel. It doesn't matter.
They brought you into this world.
Yeah. They're the reason I have the ego to complain about them bringing me into the world.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we all complain about our parents, but they're the reason you even have the time to complain about being here.
Because you're here.
Yeah.
No, that's a cute way of looking at it. It's a cycle.
It's
Now,
a cute way.
Tell me, what inspired you to start off this podcast with him then?
The podcast was an accident.
Accident?
It was. It happened by mistake. Long story short, because I've said it before and I don't want to get into it too much, but after October 7, we had a meeting with Meta, with one of my influencers, and we were just going through his page, and it wasn't about October 7. And at the end of the meeting, they were like, okay, do you have any questions? And I was like, no, my only question is, what's up with the shadow banning and the censorship of Palestinian content? So they were like, you know what, Layla, you're person number million who asks about this. We're going to hold a panel and a discussion to discuss community guidelines and safety guidelines at Meta. So crickets for a few weeks, and then we get the invite and we go to the meeting. And I say this carefully because the people who work at Meta are Arabs, they're Syrian, they're Lebanese, they're Palestinian. They're on our side, but obviously they work for an American corporation. So long story short, they were kind of gaslighting us, kind of putting a soothing balm on our wound. And this was right after October 7th. This was in November.
The pressure was real.
So I just took the microphone and I kind of gave it to them. And I was in a room full of influencers, so someone filmed me. And I posted the video. It went viral in a few hours. It was like already at 300,000 views. And then my same talent a week later was like,
Because you didn't have followers at the time, right? You were at like
600,
I remember I met
500,
you,
yeah.
I think.
I was a private account. I only went public to share content about Palestine. After I posted that video, I think I gained like 3,000 followers. So I was like, okay. And I did nothing about it. No, I did nothing. And then that same talent that we had a meeting at Meta with, I saw him for coffee a week later to discuss work. And he was like, Layla, the way you spoke was so powerful. You could hear a pin drop in that room. He's like, just go into a studio and start recording. And then...
You're made for this.
I called my dad. I was like, Sean said 1, 2, 3. He's like, book a session right now. And then the rest is history.
That's incredible.
So it was
what topics do you feel are most, let's say, misunderstood today?
Men and women. Definitely men and women. Your purpose in life, your calling.
Right.
And I will say another thing that has recently become a huge part of my life. Money. People don't understand the language of money. People don't have a healthy and positive relationship with money. The same way we talk about healing our childhood trauma and figuring out your relationship with your mom or your dad or that toxic ex who abused you and left you like a shell of yourself. People have a very negative relationship to money. That's why most people are poor.
As in they get enslaved to money?
Yeah. And they fear money. They don't think they're worthy of it. It's the same way when you're attracting the love you think you deserve, right? So if you don't think you're worthy of a positive love, you attract a partner who's going to like pick at the scab of your wounds. It's the same way with money. If you don't genuinely believe you deserve it and you're worthy,
you're never going to earn it.
You're never going to have it, no matter how hard you think you're working. There's always going to be that push and pull that I have it and it slipped through my fingers, you know?
So we're going to speak about male and female relationships later on, but I want to first talk to you about society and tradition. And the word that I'm looking for here is identity, right? In today's digital world, many young people, they struggle with identity. And it's kind of contradictory because on one hand side, we have all these platforms and in a matter of a second, we can post our opinions, we can show who we are. And the more options we have, let's say, the more we start losing our identity for some reason. So it's a bit contradictory. Why do you think this happens? Why are young generations losing their identity when they should actually have, more options of showcasing who they really are?
Because the brain isn't designed to process that much information at that speed.
All right.
You know what I mean? There's an overwhelming amount. There's a surplus of information, and it's done by design where they'll throw a lot of false information with hints and nuggets and crumbs of true information. But by the time you've seen it all, you believe it all. Do you get what I mean?
So you feel like you're going to be judged, and then you don't actually represent your true opinions online.
Are you referring to me or to the people?
No, to the younger generation.
The younger generation I have a problem with the younger generation. They're very soft, but it's also, it's human nature to grow up and to feel a little lost. You're always going to be looking for your purpose and searching for your why.
Right.
And you're never going to feel fulfilled until you find it. And when you can just at a click of a button find so much out there, and you're still
you're not touching it physically, but it's there.
Yeah, but you're also still trying to figure out who you are. And maybe or maybe not, you have a toxic relationship with your parents, so you already feel misunderstood and suffocated. So you find a whole other world online that calls you in. That's why the trans movement is so big. You know what I mean? The human mind is already addicted to the victim mentality.
100%.
And then the sense of, I don't even know who I am and I don't have an identity, it feeds into that even more. So then they find themselves latching onto it even more.
Right.
And this is where, it's very easy to find yourself stuck in a cult. And I use the word cult very carefully and very much on purpose, because social media today is very much a cult.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And we need people like you to kind of wake them up a little bit.
I hope I'm
Shake
waking
them up
people
a little bit. Now, tell me, do you think social media has actually helped or harmed discussions around faith, around tradition, around morality in general? Because I see both, and I follow both.
I see both. I would have to say, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Candace Owens who said this, that someone like Andrew Tate came out and he had such a strong following, regardless of your opinions of him. You have to just look at the facts. There was a reason a man like this popped up out of nowhere. And there was a reason he had such a big, massive following, with people becoming addicted to every word he would send their way. Because the pendulum had swung so far left.
Right.
With this chaos and this inclusivity and everyone matters,
in general.
And globalization and all of that people were like, wait, I don't know what to do. You're telling me like to be myself, but then I'm being myself, and you're saying I'm a toxic man.
Yeah.
Exactly. You just want me to be what you deem is appropriate. And he came out and was like, no, men go back to being men. So men were like, finally, there's a reason that happened.
Right.
It didn't come out of nowhere.
Right.
And the fact that women especially don't want to acknowledge that there's a reason men are drawn to Andrew Tate.
Right.
Maybe therein lies the problem.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know when's the last time I heard a woman go like, I wonder how a dude's feeling today. Not that men should be so emotional, but just about, what do men need? What can we keep talking about men need to do this for us, right? What do we need to do for the men?
What do we need to do for them in order for them to feel comfortable?
And now if I say this, they call me a pick-me.
No. You're in a safe space here. I think our opinions are very much aligned. But tell me, what do you think are the biggest misconceptions between males and females?
It's a there's so many misconceptions.
There's so many, right?
There's so many. I think the biggest misconception is most women think they know what men want, and then lo and behold, men will be like, no, babe, that's
the opposite.
That's not what we want at all. And then most men will think they know what a woman wants, and then a woman's gonna be like, not even close, you missed the mark entirely. And
I don't need this bag, I want you to be real with me.
Yeah, but also I understand also women's need to be taken care of. It's an innate need that's biologically embedded 100%. In us, hence why God put the innate need in men. And it's biological that they need to provide, they need to protect, they need to take care. And we balance each other out a lot more than we allow ourselves to. But we refrain ourselves from doing so because we've heard Kim Kardashian or Taylor Swift or some movie go like, oh, I don't need no man. If you think you don't need a man, you have another thing coming for you. 100%. And it's going to hit you in your late 30s real quick, real fast. And by then,
it's too late.
It's too late.
What do you have to give him?
Yeah.
At that point.
And it's not that you're not a good woman. You could be a good woman, but you also need to recognize that you are at fault and you have wasted time.
Right.
It doesn't make you horrible. It just made you wrong for some time.
And we do have a biological clock, and it's
Yeah, of
something we
course.
can't escape from, right?
Of course.
The ones that I feel like are kind of toxic from the male side is when they say that, oh yeah, you women are more complicated than us men. I feel like that's often used as an excuse in relationships rather than an attempt to actually understand or communicate. And the second one that I feel like women are placed into these two buckets. You're either this completely man-hating feminazi, or you're in this other bucket, which is you're overly needy damsel that is constantly in distress and you cannot find a man. And women are constantly placed in these two buckets. And it's like, where do we find that golden middle? Because the golden middle does exist, right?
I'll raise you another question based on what you said. Based on the two buckets that you gave me, do you think it's men who put us in those buckets or women?
Unfortunately, I think it starts with women.
Mm-hmm. It's the women that put us in these buckets, for sure. So the thing is, of course, there's a sweet spot and there's a center and this is why I always revert back to Islam. In Islam is a moderate religion. We're always meant to be in the middle. We're not meant to be in extremes, you know?
It's a balance that you have with yourself, because if you're not in that balance, it means there's something you have to work on.
Of course. You always need to go back to equilibrium. I've spoken about this before. Any tip too much to the left or tip too much to the right, it's extreme. That's why, like the example I gave before, that the pendulum swung so far left and then it swung so far right with Andrew Tate. And me personally, as Layla, I was like, okay, I'm going to need to put all that noise away and I'm going to need to go back to what I know to be true and correct. And that was when I brought back God into the conversation. And it blows my mind that God isn't at the center of every conversation. It's something I will never understand.
No, you're going to be shocked, Imagine leaving the Middle East and going to Europe, going to the West. It's incredible how much it has been placed away to the side. Generationally. It's crazy. It's crazy. But tell me, how do you think we can create that culture where masculinity and femininity can actually be celebrated rather than they're seen as opposing forces at this point? You go to work, you're seen as an opposing force. You know, you're in a relationship, it's seen as an opposing force. How can we bring it back and celebrate it and equalize it and, say, okay, as a female, this is what I need to do. And as a man, this is what you need to do.
Accountability.
Also communication, right? You need to
before communication, accountability. Because if you have no sense of accountability and you go to your counterpart just to communicate, you could be communicating from a victim mentality. You could be communicating from a place of
you need to be aware.
Yeah.
And then you need to take action and speak about it.
If you come to me aware of where you wronged me and where you wronged yourself, more importantly, and I approach you from where I know I wronged myself and I wronged you, and we're trying to reach a point of, okay, what do I need to do to make sure you're the best version of yourself, and how can you support me to become the best version of myself, because it will further serve you down the road. Then we've reached a very beautiful starting point. If you don't start from there, because that's your foundation, everything else is pointless. You're building a house of straw. It's gonna crumble.
And how would you deal with it at work? I mean, you are an entrepreneur, you have your own agency. Now we're talking more about relationships. How would you deal with it in a professional, work environment where I think it's going to be 10 times harder for anyone to accept?
Work is different. So it's a conversation I've had with my dad where when I'm working, I'm very much, I have to wear my big boy pants and I have to be a man about it, and I can't sulk and I can't cry, and my feelings come not only secondary but third, fourth and fifth place when it comes to getting the work done, making sure everything is running smoothly and that I can take care of my family at the end of the day. And so at
saying
work,
men are not allowed to cry?
No, men aren't allowed to cry. Absolutely not. In specific conditions, but not at work. If a man cries at work, come on, baby boy. Get it together. No, men can't cry at work. But so with work, I have to turn into a shark, and it's different. You can't disrespect me at work. You can't try me. You can't cross a line, because I will rain hellfire down on you for sure. Yeah.
We don't want that.
Because in my mind, you're not messing with me personally as Layla. I don't care about that. You can say whatever you want about me. I have thick skin. That's why obviously the trolls on that. You think I care? That's water under the bridge.
I'm
water
honestly
off my shoulder
entertained when I look through the comments on your videos.
I don't even care. I wish people knew how much I didn't care about these comments. But when you try to mess with my livelihood, in my mind, you're messing with the food on my brother's plate. In my mind, you're messing with my mother's comforts. And I turn into a beast.
Right.
Because what are you doing? It's one of the biggest sins in the world to me personally. When you بتطب برزقة بني آدم, which means you try to mess with someone's source of income, someone's lifeline.
You don't do that.
What are you doing?
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's a scarcity mindset.
Right.
Envy, jealousy. You think that if you take from me, it'll go to you. But my abundance, like I said, comes from God. So it's not you who gives me money, it's God.
Right.
Do you get what I mean?
Right.
But because people have lost that connection,
right.
in their mind it's just me, and I need to take.
But do you think we should take revenge then? Or do you think indifference is the biggest revenge?
Yeah. No, indifference is one of the biggest forms of revenge, absolutely. And you can still take your revenge while remaining indifferent. But in Islam, the Prophet ﷺ spoke about betrayal many a time because he's been betrayed. Obviously.
It's human. It's only human.
So has Jesus, you know what I mean? Alayhi salam. All the prophets have a story, one form or the other, of either their brothers betraying them, their friends, someone in the community.
Right.
And there are times where khalas, you let go, and then this is hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel, this is up to Allah, you know? But there are times where God is putting you in a corner. It's you either become a weak person or you stand up and you fight because you know God has given you the right to fight for justice. And
right.
there are ways to go about getting your justice and enacting it. You know what
right.
I mean? Exacting
right,
justice. But absolutely, I think vengeance is very much deserved at times. And if not, it is imposed upon you.
Right.
Even if you don't want to, it is your duty towards God to stand up for yourself.
Right. And at the end of the day, we always go back to that balance and that equilibrium and how to go around about it without going to one end of the extreme or the other.
If you only ever let go and let God, you are a weak person. You're not good and kind-hearted and faithful like you've convinced and tricked yourself to be. It's just that you're unable
to find the strength
to enact your vengeance or take back what rightfully belongs to you.
Right.
Omar al-Mukhtar is one of my favorite. Actually, to answer your question, that man might be my hero, Omar al-Mukhtar.
Really?
He's a Libyan man who is a huge Muslim figure in Islamic history because he fought the Italian invaders when they came and tried to take his land. And he spoke about this, that in Islam, it is our duty and we have to. You cannot call yourself a Muslim if you don't fight for that land. And that's why Palestinians are one of the bravest people in the world.
And talking about Palestine,
go for it.
You've been extremely vocal, obviously, about Palestine, and thank you for that. And I wanted to get more into the social media topics with you right now.
Yeah.
Majority of the media has been pro-Israel. Here, particularly in the Middle East, we've seen this incredible social media campaign made by individuals such as you or such as a person sitting in Gaza or a person sitting elsewhere in the Middle East, made by normal people. And the power that this social media campaign had over this global media that was running all over the world has been incredible. And I think I've never seen such a crazy, impactful, social media vibe that I got from this conflict.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, how do you see social media shaping, let's say, the global conversation that we've had on this particular issue?
I think social media, figuratively, not to be gory, but took a gun, put it to legacy media's head and pulled the trigger and didn't even flinch. Legacy media has gone down the drain since October 7. And 100%. If I'm being honest, it's about time. You would see your parents and your grandparents, and even if they had some sort of skepticism, they would watch, I don't know, BBC, CNN,
exactly.
Al Jazeera, and they would, one way or another, a part of their information came through that channel, through that form of media. And then when people like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, and then you have Rahma Zain, you have Ahmed Ad-Din, you have, I love Rahma, all of these people who came out and were like, you know what, I'm kind of done with it. And then, just like you said, plucked up a phone, started posting. Mu'taz Azaiza, obviously, they put a gun to legacy media's head and pulled the trigger.
Finally.
And every generation, it's not just our generation and the youth, it's even my dad, my mom, my grandparents. They don't get their information from legacy media anymore.
Yeah.
So I think social media was a trailblazer. Yeah.
You don't open BBC anymore.
Yeah.
And I wish, being a Serbian, I wish this was something that we had in the 90s when we were going through hell, when we were bombed in 99.
Yeah.
And that wasn't there. But thankfully now we have the power of social media. No matter how much harm it does, I feel like in this particular situation, it's incredible the power that it had and the beauty that it had, because it was all so organic, you without any sort of lens. It was just
agree.
there.
I think it also, not to be macabre, but it shined, a bigger light on, obviously when you're studying the Holocaust and certain things in history class in high school, you would always think, oh my God, I would have never stood with Hitler. Oh my God, I would have never stood with Stalin. You know what I mean? You always convince yourself that you would have been, the warrior. I'm saying, how back when we read about back in the day, you'll be like, if I was alive during the Holocaust, I would have stood with the Jews. I would have never been evil and stood with the Nazis.
Right.
But what social media shined a light on today was, in your face, people are standing with the Nazis. Right. In your face, they're standing with evil. So it's very hard now to try to convince yourself that you're a good person and say that if I was alive back in the day, I would have stood with the good guys. I would have fought against the Nazis.
Right.
Because that's just not true.
Right.
But most people stand with the
evil side.
Yeah.
Do you think it's easier? Why do you think it happens?
I don't think it's easier. I think it's done by design.
You're less judged?
Not less judged. I think it's done by design. There's a sense of, number one, when they've been controlling media for so long, when they've been controlling so many organizations, so many companies, so many salaries, when they're embedded in every part of society, everywhere. It's very hard for the little man to come out and say, hey, look at me, I'm kind of not lying, I'm kind of being oppressed. But in Islam, there was a conversation between God and the devil before he became the devil. And God was telling the devil that you will turn all of my followers against me, except for my few faithful ones. إِلَّا عِبَادِيَ الْمُخْلِصِينَ. And out of, I don't know the number, but I would presume out of every 100 million, one will remain true. And that's why you struggle so much to make friends today. That's why you struggle to meet a partner. That's why you go to work and everyone is your enemy.
Course.
It's the way it is.
It all connects.
Yeah, because no one wants to do the work to be better.
Right. You need to put in the effort.
Yeah.
Tell me, what are some ways that young people can actually strengthen their connection to faith, to religion, to morals, to values, everything that we lost?
My number one advice would be, and it's a hard pill to swallow, but recognize that everything bad comes from you and everything good comes from God. Once you take accountability for your life, there's nowhere but up from here.
It's what we spoke about before.
Yeah.
Accountability would be your number one.
Absolutely, because you take the power away from other people. If I'm not taking accountability for my life and I'm blaming everyone and their mother, every Tom, Dick and Harry for why this went wrong, why that relationship failed, why this deal didn't pull through, why I lost that job, then what am I doing? I gave the power to everyone around me. Right. And the direct result of that is that I'm waiting for them to return that power to me. And that just never happens. That's not the way the world works.
And you just become unhappier.
Yes.
And you're not understanding
more
why.
Into the victim mentality. Absolutely. But if I take back that power and I go like, no, I lost that job because I was naive. No, I attracted that relationship because I didn't think I was worthy of love. And if you take back that accountability and you take back that power, where do you have to go from here? Only up. Right. Because then you can be like, no, I'm going to change the way I think and attract a better partner. No, I'm going to fix my relationship with money and go build that company I've been dreaming of building. And then you're not waiting for people to move things around for you, because
you've done it on your own at that point.
People
100%.
aren't gonna love you more than they love themselves, and people are barely able to love themselves today. People can barely.
It's crazy.
Can barely look in the mirror, go to sleep with a heavy heart and a heavy mind, a guilty mind. And you want them to drop all of that and come save you. Come on now.
Stop living in this illusion.
Literally.
Yeah, 100%. What legacy do you want to leave behind? What would you say, is your purpose in this life? What legacy would you like to leave to all of those younger generations?
If I have allowed one person to go through the day and remember God, then I've done my job. If I just bring one person closer to God every day, then I've done my job. I really truly believe it's my purpose in this world. And it's very interesting because people will come for me that I'm not a hijabi or I have my nails painted or but I think therein lies the mystery, that everything you were taught of what a spiritual or Muslim figure was meant to look like,
Right.
I am the opposite of that today, but still I shake people's hearts and open their hearts to God and Islam. The thousands of people that have DM'd me that they've converted. I have a lot of Jewish and Christian followers who will tell me, I am a Jew, but I watch you and you bring me closer to my faith. And I'm happy to do that. I'm not trying to convert everyone to Islam. I just want people to remember God while I myself, I am unapologetically Muslim.
Right.
You know? And I really think that's my purpose, that I've shaken and broken people's idea of what Islam was. And it's like, oh, someone like Layla, who doesn't look like what they taught me.
Yeah, you're not a hijabi. You're not, yeah.
You know? But she made me go pray. She made me get up, make wudu, and go pray. That's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, because I break the mold that they themselves have
right.
Imprisoned themselves in.
And what I love about you is that you actually make people start realizing that there's something bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
And a lot of people forgot that, especially in the West.
Yeah.
No matter what religion you are, there's one big God.
Yeah.
And all of those paths, all those different religions, they lead to one big
They
God.
lead
No matter
back
who
to
you
the
are,
same
no matter
God.
what religion you are.
Absolutely.
And it's important for people to understand it. And a lot of the people in the Middle East understand it, and I'm happy to have moved here because respect is there, values are there.
Yeah.
I'm a Christian, but I walk down the streets of Dubai and I feel like I'm at home.
Yeah.
Because this aura is just there, the spirituality is there, and that's something that I love about the city and in general about this region.
I love Dubai so much. I agree. I fully agree. But there's something. So people will ask why, or just to finish what you were saying, to add to it, so people really understand the point of why we're saying what we're saying and why we do what we do. But شئت أم أبيت, whether you like it or not, if you do not worship God or something bigger than you, you worship something else. It's the way your brain is programmed.
Right.
It's how we were built. We're always looking for something. Right. And by worship here, it's what you dedicate your energy and your time and your efforts and your prayers to. That could be your partner, God forbid, your work, money, your friend group, you know, that's all you're putting your energy, your time, your effort, your prayers into.
Right.
But you have to recognize at the end of the day that you have someone and something bigger to answer to, and that is your God. And this is why I'm so adamant about, you cannot make mistakes anymore. You have to blame yourself. And for me personally, and I've said this many a time and I'll say it again, I refuse to meet my God a liar. I refuse to meet him a coward, and I refuse to meet him a shell of myself. I will be everything he has dictated our duty in this world is to be, so that at least when I meet him, I have a semblance of a foot to stand on and be like, I really did my best.
Now tell me, all of these values that, you know, you speak up about, how do they translate into your business? I want to speak a little bit about your agency.
Something my brother taught me, God bless his soul, he's just turned 24. He's super into Islam, super into the history, super into the figures, the stories, and the way he talks about it, more than me. And the way he talks about it, he's very like educated and eloquent about it. And in Islam, they teach you about risk management. They teach you about how to manage your finances.
Oh, yeah?
They teach you about which ventures to explore. And it's crazy to me because you go into high school and no one teaches you how to file your taxes. No one teaches you what to invest in. No one teaches you
Don't get me started about education.
Baby girl, I'm a college dropout. I'm proud. Really? College dropout and proud. So when people ask, what are your credentials? Nothing. Nothing.
You learn life the moment you leave education, I would say.
Absolutely. I agree. And for lack of a better sentence, but the streets teach you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Going into work teaches you. Dealing with everyday people teaches you. Starting a company and failing and falling flat on your face teaches you. But it's so easy to talk about all of these big dreams when you're just in a classroom with a pen and paper.
Right.
But you have to be put to the test.
Do you feel like all entrepreneurs need to fail in order to be successful?
I don't think... I never failed at my company. Alhamdulillah. Oh, I'm going to knock on wood with that. Guys, I'm so sorry. But no, since I launched, I haven't failed. Alhamdulillah. But I failed at life tremendously before. And
right.
it put that lack of fear and that faith in Allah in me, that by the time I started my company, I didn't have a fear of failure. Therefore, failure never found me.
Right.
What you fear finds you, and what you have faith in finds you.
You've passed through it, and you were ready here and here to start your own thing.
I had no doubt in my mind that God was leading the way. I had no doubt in my mind that my abundance came from His treasure chest, and it didn't come from the people around me. And when I tell you I didn't flinch, and I was like, yalla, let's go.
It's incredible.
Yeah, but I flinched before. When I was working for other people, when I was still going through high school, when I was still learning, when I was in my early 20s, I failed and failed and failed until failure wasn't even in my periphery anymore. It didn't exist in my vocabulary. But that only came when I put my faith in God, when I trusted His promises towards us.
Right.
لَأَنْ شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. It means if you are grateful, I will give you more. Like we say, you manifest everything. White people talk about gratitude. I'm like, come on now. We've known this for a very long time, you know? لَا يُكَلِّفَ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا وُسْعَهَا. God does not give a soul more than it can bear. God does not put you through more than you can bear. So everything
100%.
you're going through is a direct result of what you prayed for. That was God molding me and shifting me to become the woman who could handle the abundance that I prayed for.
Right.
Layla in her 20s couldn't handle the money I have now. I couldn't handle the responsibilities I had now. I would have crumbled under pressure. I would have folded like a piece of paper. Now I'm like, yalla, send it my way.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
But would you say you're facing sort of challenges in your entrepreneurship, let's say, in your entrepreneurial journey at the moment, or you haven't faced any sort of challenges?
No, I'm good.
Really? Not even
Yeah,
challenges?
because I don't see challenges as a challenge anymore.
I love that. It's the way you look at things.
Yeah, I used to be so
love that.
scared. Now I'm like, it's not a challenge. SubhanAllah, a little inside scoop. There's a certain member of Hollywood that I helped build from the ground up, which is very interesting because no one knows about this, and I don't talk about this online because there are certain projects where I'm very, very happy being the person behind the scenes. Very happy. And it's something that I learned from Fadi.
Okay.
Inshallah will be on this show.
Yes.
And then they had a trip to Dubai, and my naive self, because we all still have a form of naivete in us.
We should keep it though.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But I reached out and I was like, yo, you're in town. Come on my podcast, because we're great friends and I helped build.
Okay.
Didn't answer me.
Oh, really?
And I didn't even flinch. I was like, you know what? Allah is closing this door for a reason, and He will
100%.
open a better one. I used to wait until the other... Oh, don't judge me.
These mics are tired of you.
I used to wait until the other better door was open, and then I'd be like, oh, it makes sense now. Now I'm grateful and happy. Meanwhile, panicking until the second door opened, the second better door. Now, immediately, if a door closes, I'm like, thank you, God.
Right.
Because I wanted that door. You have better for me.
Right. But have you ever felt like you fell down completely?
With work, no. With my company, no. But when I used to work for other people, yes. Obviously, you and I both worked for a similar...
That would be a topic for another podcast.
Yeah.
Offline podcast.
Babe,
but
I had
personally, but have you ever had a moment where you fell face down and it took you a while to get back up again? Personally, I don't mean work-wise now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course, many times.
Is it still a part of you, or would you say we need to let go of these things?
I've absolutely let go of these things. The second they happen, I let go of them. This is something I've, alhamdulillah, had a gift with since I was a kid. It's very easy for me to switch my emotions off towards someone like a button.
Really?
If I tell myself I don't care about you, I genuinely don't care. And it's not that I swept it under the rug of my subconscious. No, I genuinely don't care.
You let go.
Khalas.
How?
Khalas.
How do you do it?
Because my attachment, God forced me to only be attached to Him. Every time I would find myself attached to a friend or a man or an external person outside of my God, God would make me fall flat on my face just to remind me, hey, you are attached to no one but me. Because everyone means nothing and I mean everything. And then when my attachment became only towards God, He sent me the people who helped me better my relationship with Him and not fall on my face anymore. But yeah,
That's
of course
beautiful.
I've fallen.
That's
of course.
beautiful.
Babe, I've not only fallen, I've been dragged through the 7 depths of hell, through mud and fire, only to come out not even recognizing myself or being able to look in the mirror. So ashamed and disappointed and feeling so stupid. Yeah, of course. Of course. How else do you gain the confidence not to do that again?
Right. You need to pass through it.
Yeah.
Tell me, are you happy now?
Yeah. But I'm careful with the word happy because people have skewed and changed the definition of happy. The word I usually use is content, and in Arabic, in Islam, it's called rida.
That was actually my next question. Has your definition of happiness changed over time? So I guess it has, right?
It has, because it's rida, to just be satisfied. Anything that God sends your way, alhamdulillah. Anything that happens, take it knowing without a beat, without skipping a beat, without a shadow of doubt, that this is in your best interest. This is a gift from God. So now everything that happens, I'm very satisfied and I'm very content and I'm very happy and I'm very grateful. Very. Beautiful. More than I've ever been in my life.
You know, I interview so many successful entrepreneurs, and they reach a point in their life where they have the money, they have the fame, they have everything. But you see deep inside that they're not happy.
Yeah.
Why do you think that happens? Why do you think that this unbalance between internal happiness and the happiness that you can get through money, which in my opinion isn't happiness, is just comfort, right? Mm-hmm. Why do you think that this unbalance happens in the majority of successful and famous people worldwide?
If I had made my money and fame without my relationship with God by my side, I think I would have been an alcoholic. I think I would have been, I'm not even joking, I would have been more depressed than I ever was. And I think
most celebs, right?
And I think I would have been, my insomnia from my 20s would have come back 10 times harder to bite me in the butt. I really do. Because we all have some form of trauma and insecurity that we develop as we grow. And like I said, it's human nature to try to fill that gap and find yourself when you're lost. It's human nature. You will always be searching to fill that emptiness that you feel inside. And when you worship something like money and not God, and then you've filled those holes with money, you're still left empty, because that's not
what you're supposed to fill the holes with.
No. You fill every emptiness in you with God. You every balm on every wound is Allah. Every prayer goes to God. Everything, even when you achieve money, achieve it with divine purpose. It tastes all the more sweeter. When I make money thinking of God and thinking of it in a spiritual way, it feels 10 times better.
Right. I see. What's the most powerful act of love that you've experienced in your life?
Ooh, that's a good one. I will say one thing. I don't think anyone who's ever claimed to love me has ever genuinely loved me, except for perhaps my parents, perhaps my family members. But the most genuine form of love I've ever experienced, as cliche as it is, I would say my God breaking me is the greatest form of love I've experienced. Him breaking me to my core, turning me into a slave who had nowhere to go but back to him, is the most inebriating form of love I've ever experienced in my life, because it's the only thing that made me better. It's the only thing that actually helped me. It's the only thing that allowed me to have a better head on my shoulders, to think more clearly, to
love yourself.
Yeah. So that
you cannot love others before you love yourself.
Absolutely. And God breaking me and molding me is the most amazing form of love I've ever experienced.
That's
100%.
Beautiful. That's beautiful, Layla. And tell me one last question. I mean, I always ask these questions, at the end of my podcasts, and it is, if you could have a phone call, with yourself, with a younger version of yourself. So Layla, 20 years ago, what would you tell that younger version of yourself if you could take back this time machine?
Oh my God, I was a rebel with a cause. I was such a messy kid. I was very...
But you wouldn't be who you are today if it wasn't for that,
absolutely.
Right? So
absolutely.
Probably keep going then?
Not keep going. I'm trying to think what's the best advice I would have given myself as a kid. As cheesy as it is, I would have told myself to
start earlier,
to anchor myself to God. Yeah, but if I'm being truthfully honest, nothing. I wouldn't tell myself a thing.
That's an interesting reply. Yeah.
You shouldn't, because if
anything was changed, right?
Well, I wouldn't be sitting across from you today, truly. So if I had to genuinely call myself I just tell myself, hey. I just say hi.
Right. Tell me, how can we see your agency growing in the future? Where do you like to see yourself, next year, the year after that? What are kind of your professional goals and targets?
I want my agency to be exactly where it is.
Okay.
Most people would tell you for it to be bigger or no, I love
bigger, better, stronger.
No, I love my agency. I love my girls. They're the sweetest. They're the kindest. They're so hardworking and humble. We're a tight-knit family. We're a boutique agency and we all help each other out. And if we are exactly the same in a year, then we've achieved a lot more than most people. Because most people either crumble in a year, are complaining.
Lose individuals.
Even if they've grown the sense of what's the word I'm looking for? There's a word I'm looking for. The culture of the company has changed and become toxic because you expand, you bring new faces and new energy. If I tell you in a year we're exactly the same, then
You'll
that's a
be
dream
happy.
come true. Absolutely, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a huge piece of advice to many entrepreneurs then.
Yeah. If you have something really good and in a year
Why
you still
change
have
it?
something really good, you're good.
Because by elevating it to the next level, you might lose it.
Yeah. But even if I elevate, but we're still happy and we're still tight-knit and we still have a great culture
Right.
and that sisterhood, then I've achieved something. But if I am exactly where I am in a year in terms of this energy and this source of income and this sense of community, then I've done something phenomenal.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, Layla, I have a lot of questions that came through from the audience. I think I'm just randomly gonna, pick and choose.
Let's go. Or do you want me to give the snappy answers?
Give the snappy answer just because I want as many of these girls and boys to hear from you as possible.
Okay.
Are you ready?
No, wait. I'm drinking water. Okay.
Oh, this is an interesting one.
All right. I'm ready. Ready for you.
All right, from Tazi Tasnim. How to cope with favoritism in your family? I feel like my parents favor me over older siblings.
Interesting.
Interesting
Usually
one,
the
right?
question comes from, oh, they're favoring my sibling and not me.
Right.
Be-
Yeah, I mean, she says, I feel like my parents favor my older siblings over me.
Oh, they favor the elder, not me, not
Yeah,
her. Oh, okay.
I guess she's the younger.
Don't care. It means nothing.
Do your thing, right?
Your parents mean nothing at the end of the day. If they're bad people, because there are parents out there that are bad people, do nothing. So, okay, let them be spoiled and you go be a human.
Maybe there's a reason why you're passing through this phase, right? In order for you to become stronger at the end of the day and do something big, which your older siblings probably will not do. Exactly.
Don't attach your value to your parents. Despite the fact that they brought you into this world, they don't really mean much in terms of what you're worth. You honor them, respect them, do right by them, keep them at a distance, and go do you. Go
Right.
live a life. Go live the life that God put you on this earth to live.
Right. Don't overthink it.
Literally.
Jaylene.bg. Does God give the same opportunities and blessings to believers and non-believers?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Just because you claim you're a believer doesn't mean God will give you more. And just because you claim someone is a non-believer just doesn't mean God sees them as a non-believer. Someone who's an atheist today could belong in the highest of heavens tomorrow for a good deed or suddenly changing their mind or suddenly waking up. Being good and bad doesn't necessarily correlate directly to your belief in God, because who you are today could be vastly different tomorrow. So absolutely, yeah.
Hope that helped.
Yeah.
M.isol11. How can I balance wanting to achieve a lot while accepting that I can only do so much?
You can
Be
do a lot more than
realistic,
you think you
right?
can.
But be realistic with yourself as well.
The worst advice in the world, girl.
Really?
Yeah, be realistic is one of the worst advice in the world. Because your reality, someone who's pessimistic, their reality is very different to mine. I'll tell you right now with a very confident voice from my chest, God has never denied me a prayer. God has never given me anything I didn't ask for. Truly. But someone's reality could be like, oh, I never get what I want. And that's their be realistic. Be realistic. You're not going to be able to buy that car. My reality is I'll afford 10 of those cars by the end of the year. You see the difference?
Right.
But you can do more. As much as you think you've done, you can do more. Come on now.
You can do much more.
Yeah. And work smart, not hard.
This one is so cute. Issa Ibrahim. I don't have any questions to ask. Just want to say thank you for you and for your inspiration. That's so cute.
Oh, God bless.
So
Alhamdulillah.
cute. What's your cat's name?
I haven't named her.
She hasn't named her yet.
So in Arabic we say bisse, which means cat. So I just call
Okay.
her Besabiso, like kitty cat.
That's so cute. She hasn't named the cat yet, guys.
No name.
Thoughts on evil eye?
Ay.
It's just negative energy, right? It's bad energy that you have to block, or
In Islam, we have mention of hasad. Hasad is a thing. That's why we refrain from, I think it was Nizar Qabbani who said, do everything in private. People ruin good things. So love in private, achieve in private, make money in private, travel in private. And even though I am on social media, I am very private. I don't share anything about my day-to-day and what I do. People ruin good things. Hasad is real, absolutely.
right. Faizansh01. These names are so weird.
I don't know.
Would you be a housewife, or will you be a working mother after getting married?
Listen, the kind of
Depends
man
what the kids do to you.
No, the kind of man I'm gonna marry, ideally I want to be a housewife, believe it or not. But just knowing myself and everything I've been through, I always need a lifeline. So no, I'll keep my company.
Cute.
When I have kids, we'll see.
Cute. A lot of questions on Sufism. Just explain what it is, because I think all of these girls are asking the same question. Please tell me what it is.
Sufis are the mystics of Islam. We believe in doing everything out of the love for God. So the easiest way I can explain it is, if I love you, Mina, and you don't want me to move this cup, I'm just not going to move this cup because my love for you is so grand that I just don't want to upset you. And this is where we operate from. We love Allah so much that we try to follow His rules as much as we can, not out of fear, but out of our love for Him. And we don't want Him to be upset because He means everything to us.
Right. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah.
There's a cool one I read. Salman Izzadeen. I find myself listening to women like you more than men. Does that make me less of a man?
No, it just means you haven't found all the right people to listen to.
Right.
For example, I listen to Candace Owens, but I also listen to Tucker Carlson. But again, they're still Christian figures. And as a Muslim, I want also a Muslim voice, as much as I love them and as wise as they are. That's why I listen to Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. That's why I listen to Shahid Bolson. That's why you just haven't found the right people. But if you're looking for a similar point of view, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf and Shahid Bolson are two great men to listen to.
Perfect. How do I deal with office politics, especially fake people within the team? I love this question. Let's go.
Turn into a beast. Turn into the most vicious form of yourself. People need to walk by you and have the fear of God instilled in them. I'm not messing with that girl today. Turn and keep at it until you figure out how to be that beast. Because you cannot turn into a weak person, and you cannot be bullied. I don't care if it's your boss. I had a boss that was the devil. She was Lilith herself.
I think we all had that figure in our life, to be honest with
Absolutely.
you.
And 9 times out of 10, guess what? It's a woman. And I, God knows how much I needed the money.
Podcast for another
I know.
time.
God knows how much I needed that money. God knows how much I needed the job. I was broke. But I was like, you know what? My dignity matters more. I refused to meet my God a coward. He didn't put me on this earth to be a punching bag. So I gave it to her and I quit my job.
There you go. Be a beast.
And I was broke.
Be a beast.
But God opened a better door. Be a
There you
beast.
go.
Be a beast. People need to fear you.
No matter how bad that sounds.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't turn into a bad person. Like, there's a line.
Absolutely.
Like, you need to balance
No, you
it.
turn into a strong person.
Yeah.
Being a good person means being a strong person.
exactly.
Because if you're weak and people can walk all over you, then you're not a good person. You're just weakly. You're a
Right.
weakling. But if you're a good person and you know how to do good and you know how to fight evil and you know how to stand for what's right,
Right.
then you're a person I want on my team.
Right. And new opportunities will open up for you energetically. One thing comes after the other.
Absolutely.
A lot of questions on friendship, to be honest with you. I'm just going to ask you, what would be your advice on friends and friendship? It's so difficult to find these days. So what would you tell all these people that are going through friendship problems?
I would read the book The 40 Rules of Love, because Shams of Tabriz and
It's
Rumi,
there?
yeah, because I'm doing a series on it.
Oh, really?
But Shams of Tabriz and Rumi in the book 40 Rules of Love, it's the most divine platonic friendship you will ever read about. They are mirrors of one another. But in order for them to have become mirrors of one another, they had to be so attached to Allah that when they came together, they were direct mirrors of their relationship to God through one another. It's a very interesting, intricate thing to navigate.
Sounds very complicated, yeah.
That's my relationship. I have to give my girl Sarah a shout out. Sarah Al-Agroubi. I prayed for a friend like her.
It's
I want to
beautiful.
cry. I really did. I could not find a woman who could mirror God back to me.
It's impossible these days.
It really is. And
God
she's
bless
been
you.
she's been an absolute blessing, a miracle. So read that book, be so attached to God, and pray to him to find you someone that just mirrors him back into you.
I'm gonna cry as well. Sarah sending you love.
She's truly the best.
I need to meet her.
I have not met a woman so just divine.
Pure.
Oh my goodness. And she's a ride or die for you. That girl will go to war for you. And she has no fear of people, but she has a deep fear of disappointing God. And that's someone I want on my team.
100%.
Yeah.
And you guys found each other there.
She is my mirror in this world, absolutely.
100%. Beautiful.
Yeah.
One last question. I think this one's a heavy one, to be honest with you. Trying to deal with trauma of an abusive marriage. It was really tough for me emotionally. How to move on? Tips.
If she's already out of it, then she did the
first
hardest
step.
thing. Yeah. And again, I feel like a broken record, but pray to God. Go talk to God.
Right.
You know what I mean? Let it all out with him. Ask him to guide you. But the more important thing is allow him to guide you. Don't fight what he's putting you through. It's not by accident.
Right. Hope that helped. Last question. ZXXB. What's your vision for the older version of yourself? I think this one's beautiful. To end this podcast on a positive, manifesting note.
You said positive, but I was about to say I don't think I'll live very long. I think I've known it all my life. I know it's a very interesting thing to say, but I don't think I'll grow very old. But
you have a feeling?
Yeah, I've always known there are two things I've known my whole life. One of them has already happened, and the second is this, that I wouldn't live very long. But when I say very long, I don't mean like I'll die tomorrow. But I've always seen I've never seen myself past 40 something. But anyway.
Oh, that's a heavy thing to say. But yeah, you might look at it in a positive way.
What did we just say?
Exactly.
Death is the one thing
God.
that's inevitable. If God decides to take me, then God decides to take me. When my dad lost his eldest sister, who meant the world to him, because my dad's an orphan, both his parents have been dead for 30 years. When she died, and I was like, oh my God, stop. He said, what do you mean stop? She's with God. He's like, you say Alhamdulillah. And he just didn't flinch. He didn't flinch when it came to God's plan.
You're making me emotional.
What I would tell my older self, nothing. Honestly, nothing. I just want to be so present. I'm so tired of living in the past and worrying about the future. Why are you crying? Don't make me cry. Don't make me cry. But nothing. I just want to be so present. I want to be here crying with you. Who I am tomorrow is whoever God wants me to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Layla. I need to go take a walk after this session, I swear.
Why are you making me cry?
Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you for having me.
Honestly, I think you've enlightened the whole room. And if anything, I'm witnessing now what your purpose is in this life.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you so much.
Habibi.
And I wish you all the best. I wish us more coffee breaks together.
Absolutely. I want to come see you in the office.
Let's do this. Let's do this.
Thank you so much for having me,
Thank you.
Habibi. Honestly, you're a dream. You're such a good woman. I've known you for a little bit now, but the few times we've interacted, you have a really good head on your shoulders. So don't worry about the outside noise. You know what's real, and just
it's there.
Keep going.
It's there.
Yeah.
Much love.
Habibi.
Thank you. That was such a powerful conversation with Layla. I love how she's unafraid to challenge narratives and really push for deeper discussions about faith and values. And the kind of world we just want to create at the end of the day. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and follow Layla to keep up with her journey. As always, thank you for tuning into Paradigm. And remember, keep innovating, keep evolving, and keep reshaping the future. With you was Mina Vucic.